On the go? Download the free andrewhogue.com iPhone and Android app so we'll never be apart. This is andrewhogue.com, still Australia's first and only 24/7 metal radio station, and it has been quite a while since this great man graced our shores. And of course, the band he will be coming back with being Mr. Bungle. It's been over 20 years plus in Oz, maybe 25, I guess. I said actually 24 because the last tour was 2000 and I was there. So let's welcome Trevor Dunn from, of course, Mr. Bungle. He's plenty of other groups over the years, Tomahawk and many more. Welcome to andrewhogue.com, Trevor.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, I remember our last show. I think it must have been our last show in Australia because I remember I took off most of my clothes and threw them in the audience at the end of the show because I knew I wasn't going to be wearing them anymore. I was dressed like a golf player for that tour.
You didn't want to keep them so you can go and practice more golf when you got home?
Believe it or not, I'm not a golf player.
Actually, I remember that tour because I think, was Mike wearing cricket uniform as well? I think some of you guys are dressed in cricket uniforms too.
Oh, I think that was Phantomas.
Oh, that a Phantomas. Okay, cool. Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah.
Now, Mr. Bungle, like I said, the last record definitely took a lot of people by surprise, the Raging Wrath of the Easter Bunny demo, which was basically re-records of tracks from 1986, which was total DRI, Slayer-possessed thrash metal worship. I loved it, and obviously a lot of fans who are more aware of the, very experimental sounds of Mr. Bungle were certainly taken aback by the release of, the Easter Bunny album. So tell us, how did you find the response for the record, which came out in 2020?
Well, it's funny. All of our records have been met with dubious response, every single one of them. Yeah. And, when we were originally thinking about booking shows in 2020 for this version of the band, we had no idea how it was going to be received. We were looking at really small clubs. We didn't know what the offers were going to be like, what promoters were going to offer, because it wasn't Bungle proper. But it kind of took off and has a life of its own now. We're kind of a two-headed baby at this point, I guess. But you never know what you're going to do artistically. A lot of people are really into it, as is shown by the turnouts at our shows and the response, which is great. We totally appreciate that. A lot of people don't think it's the real Mr. Bungle, which is kind of ironic because it's actually more original than any of our records that, it's more of the original band than what we did in the 90s, to be honest, musically anyway,
I think it's because a lot of those fans probably didn't know much about the very early origins of Mr. Bungle, which is probably why it took a lot of people by surprise. But the lineup is just phenomenal. Of course, yourself and Mike, but then enlisting the thrash metal legend that is Mr. Dave Lombardo on the drums, and of course Scott Ian on guitar as well. I mean, it really is a thrash metal match made in heaven. So how was it just sort of jamming out these songs with those esteemed veterans of that genre?
It's amazing. They both take their musicianship very seriously. This is why they're two of the greatest, in the genre. They're totally open-minded. They're willing to do any weird thing that we throw at them, but they also, they put in a lot of work to get this music to sound the way it's supposed to, and I mean, it's kind of come full circle because those are the guys that we were listening to when we were originally writing this music when we were teenagers, which is why that's how this whole idea came about. It's like, why don't we do this with Dave, who's been our drum god, since 1983, and give this music the treatment that it deserves, and because it's got Lombardo written all over it, and and obviously Scott is no stranger to laying down like, I mean, his right hand, his rhythm is so on par. He's like, his right hand is like Dave's feet in a way.
Yeah.
It's amazing. We couldn't be doing this with two better guys. There's no way we could do this with like James Hetfield and whoever's playing at Megadeth right now, which I don't even know.
I mean, were there moments when you started to rehearse these songs that you had that quick moment of, some kind of reflection that you grew up listening to, of course, Dave and Scott, SOD and all that, and you're just hearing that guitar tone? Because again, this is what's lacking, I find, in music today, is the personalities. When you hear some of these guys play, it's them. Like, you can just tell by their tone, their feel. Dave sounds like Dave, Scott sounds like Scott. Like, a lot of that stuff's missing today. So were there moments when you got your head down, you're playing your parts, jamming these songs, and you're just hearing Lombardo just playing and hearing that riff from Scott playing? Were there moments of just, what the hell happened? How did this happen?
Absolutely, absolutely. I've had those moments on stage. I'm like, what, just suddenly have this consciousness of like, wait, I wrote this song when I was 17, and now Dave Lombardo and Scott Ian are like shredding it on stage.
Yeah.
Like I kind of have to pinch myself in a way, but it's all very. There's a lot of mutual respect, which is great. And because we all take it very seriously. We take the music seriously, but we want to be having a good time, and we want the audience to have a good time too. So, which hasn't always been the attitude of Mr. Bungle. We're actually, I think we've gotten a little bit soft in our old age where we actually want the audience to enjoy what we're doing.
Now, whose idea really was it to bring these songs back to life? I mean, because we know Mike is just a virtuoso in so many different genres. Who was the first one to say, dude, let's go back to the Easter Bunny demo 86 and let's just write a full record?
Well, I have to admit it was me. I'd been thinking about it for a while
Yep.
after meeting Dave and being in Phantomos for so many years. It just kind of occurred to me. Trey and Mike and I would occasionally, when we'd tour with Bungle proper with Danny and Bear, we would occasionally throw in some of these songs. There's live recordings where you can hear us playing like parts of Sudden Death, or Raping Your Mind or whatever. But we'd tag those on to the song Merry Go Bye Bye, which ends in utter chaos, but people didn't know what we were playing because they didn't know that demo.
Yep.
So we always had this place in our hearts for that music. And then I thought, wow, it was my idea to like, what if we re-recorded it with Dave? And then I was at a Dead Cross show that the Secret Chiefs were opening up for. And it was the first time that Trey, Mike, and I had all been in the same room in, like, I don't know, a good 15 years or something. I mean, we've all stayed in touch and worked on shit together, but this was the first time we were all together, and Dave was there too. So I thought, okay, this is the opportunity. I'm just going to breach the subject and see what happens. They might kick me out, but I don't know. Kick me out of the backstage. But to my astonishment, everyone's totally down. They're like, wow, that's amazing. And then Mike had the idea of bringing Scott in, which made a lot of sense, to have a rhythm guitar player. And we took it from there, went into learned all the stuff. Me and Trey had to remake demos based off the original demos because it was really hard to hear what was going on in those old demos. So me and Trey went in our respective studios, went in and re-recorded guitar and drum tracks just so Scott and Dave could hear what the hell they were supposed to be doing.
Yeah, I love those raw songs. Now, let's talk a bit about, of course, the tour managed to happen before the sort of pandemic stepped in and shut us all down for a lengthy period of time. And I know Mike was sort of struggling throughout that time as well. So, how did you guys sort of keep that all together? Because obviously Bungle was building a momentum once you put this record out and then, boom, door closed.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, one of the things that helped was doing the Halloween stream show that we did in 2020, Halloween 2020, because originally we had planned to tour that year in 2021. We were going to do all this touring that we're doing now then. So we knew the music. We'd done a few shows in early February before lockdown. So we ended up, everyone was doing streaming and all that stuff. So we jumped on the bandwagon and we, you know, did a live recording essentially, and that kept some of the momentum going. But that was, yeah. Then 2021 was even worse in a way, because it was just there was all this anticipation of like, oh, it's going to be over soon, right?
Yes.
So we would start to make plans and like, oh, what if we look into doing a tour like in fall of 2021, and it just didn't pan out. We just stayed in touch and talked about the future like everyone else was doing about everything in a way, which I mean, we didn't even know if there was going to be a future of mankind or anything. I mean, there barely is, but
Yeah, I mean that's for a whole other discussion as well. But
yeah.
eventually things do pass. Now let's talk about the live stuff because, of course, you're coming back to Australia as Mr. Bungle, first time in 24 years. Now, without giving too much away about the set list, are we expecting to hear quite a few tracks from the latest record, as well as some of the sort of past tracks? Like, how will you sort of? Because again, Bungle's just renowned for diversity.
We're essentially playing the entire Raging Wrath album.
Spoiler.
I mean, I'm not sure exactly, I mean, I'm basing this. This is based off of the last couple tours we've been doing. It might change a little bit once we get in the rehearsal studio and design the set list. But it's essentially going to be that whole record. Maybe not every song, but 80% of it. And then we've also been throwing in some nice, easy listening rock from the same era, from the 80s, which is a nice palate cleanser between tunes. And because we love playing cover songs and
Yep.
doing our own weird arrangements of them. Um, and yeah, that's essentially it. And there might be a couple of surprises here or there. You never know.
Awesome. Well, let's check out those tour dates for the up and coming tour of Mr. Bungle here. I'm going to bring them up now. The first show kicks off on Wednesday, the 6th of March at Festival Hall in Melbourne, the 7th at the Hindley Street Music Hall in Adelaide, the 9th in Sydney at the Hordern Pavilion, the 10th at the Fortitude Music Hall in Brisbane, and finishing up in Perth, which is great because they always complain no one goes there, but you're going there, which is awesome. That's at the Metro City on Tuesday, the 12th of March. So we can get you to choose, Trevor, I guess one of your favourite tracks from the latest album from Mr. Bungle. Also, one of your favourite Slayer songs of all time. And I guess Anthrax or SOD, one of the two, as well to
Yeah.
conclude.
Let's see. In terms of my one of my favorite songs of the new off Raging Wrath, I would probably have to go with I think Mathematics, just because it's kind of like new and old at the same time. It was written at the same time as the original demo, but we just never played it live and never made it off a cassette tape. Um, so that's kind of exciting for me, I guess. And then wow, favorite Slayer song. It would definitely be something off of Rain and Blood. I've always been really partial to Piece by Piece.
Yep.
I mean, every song on that record is brilliant, but there's some reason, maybe it's just because it's so concise and where it lies in the record. It's just like when you get to that song on that record, that's when you have no hope. You're just going to be pummeled for the rest of the record. That's when you're like, wait, they're not stopping. It just keeps going.
Relentless, waiting the hour, destined to
Relentless,
die,
totally
here on
relentless.
the
Yeah,
table of hell.
yeah, exactly. And then, I mean, I'm also in terms of Anthrax. I always loved Panic off their first record,
Mm.
Fistful of Metal.
Yep. Okay, cool. Anything off SOD? Because that, like I said, there's so much. I hear so much SOD in the Raging record as well.
Oh yeah, for sure. Gee, it's been a while since I actually listened to that record. I mean, Milk, I have to say, is pretty good.
All right, we'll throw that in as well. All right, we'll look forward to having you back in Oz, Trevor. I can't wait to see and hear these new songs live, or classic songs done live, which are new is what I'm trying to say. And can't wait to have you back here in Australia very, very soon.
Right on. We're looking forward to it. Thanks a lot.
Awesome. Let's check out some Mr. Bungle and a variety of 80s Slayer and Anthrax right here on andrewhogue.com. Thanks, Trevor.
You bet.